Hey, good afternoon everyone, Tractorman 44 here. You can see I'm kind of inside the house in front of the fireplace. I'm going to talk about an activity that many of us guys, many of you guys that follow me or watch my videos engage in every year, and that's burning wood or burning wood for heat, within your home or your workshop. Hopefully what I'm going to do will be able to provide just a little bit of insight as to what goes on inside your furnace, your stove, your fireplace, or whatever, whenever you're burning wood, especially for younger people or people that are less experienced, in burning wood. You think that you just go ahead and grab some kindling, a little bit of paper, and throw some wood in, build a fire, and everything's good. But you have to consider what it is that you're actually doing. Every life form on the face of the earth, be it a tree or humans or animals or whatever, every life form is essentially carbon based. Okay, well, obviously, tree is a life form. It contains wood, grows out of the ground, of course, and it is carbon based. So you think you just light it on fire and it'll burn. Well, no, not actually, because wood in its current form, in its solid form, it's not going to burn. It cannot burn. You have to heat the wood to a point that it releases the gases, which then become combustible, and those gases actually burn, and then the wood deteriorates as the gases are released, and the gases are burnt and give off the heat. To cause those gases to release, you have to actually elevate the temperature of the piece of wood, and that's where the paper and the kindling and the small pieces that actually begin your fire come into play. Everything heats each other until it gets to the point to where the wood itself is heated and the gases start being released. Now, if you have wood that's not properly seasoned or cured, it takes a lot more of that initial heat to heat up that piece of wood to release those gases in order to make more heat. So if you're burning green wood or green that's not totally seasoned, you're wasting a lot of that energy you're trying to create in the form of heating the less than cured stick of wood to get it to the point that it'll release its gas. Okay, you think about it, it's got moisture in it. Whether it's a green wood or it's a freshly cut and green, non-cured, non-seasoned wood, it's got a great percentage of moisture in it. Moisture doesn't burn. Okay, so you have to evaporate that moisture prior to the point at which the carbon becomes, or the gases become available for the flame to ignite. And if you ever sit by your furnace or by an open fire, sometimes depending on the type of wood you put in there, the greener the wood, you can actually hear that hissing and the sizzling, and if you look really, really close, you can see the little bubbles and stuff coming out of the end grains. Well, that's uncured, unseasoned wood, and it's actually wasting that energy to evaporate that before it can get warm enough to actually do what it needs to do for you. I don't have a moisture meter, right? I don't have one that works anyway, but you really want to season your wood more than just from spring to fall. In my estimation, I try to keep 3 years in advance. We need to get that moisture content as low as possible. Now, a lot of people say, well, I like to keep that green wood in there, because it holds the fire at night. Well, it may hold the fire at night, but what's it cost you? It costs you in incomplete combustion, because the green wood does not give off the proper gases, so it provides incomplete combustion, a lower flue temperature, and then the byproduct of that, which is creosote, which will actually attach to your walls of your chimney and all that stuff. And in severe cases, it's actually a liquid that will drip downward and back into your furnace or into your stove through the flue pipe. Those are extremely severe cases, but it's out there happening every single day of the winter, I guarantee it. Whenever you drive by a neighborhood and you see people who've got a fire going, you can tell by the color of their smoke whether or not they're burning seasoned wood or if their wood is unseasoned. If you see nothing but heat waves coming out, that guy's got a good fire going. He's got a good fire going. He's entered a secondary burn, and he's burning just about as much of the combustible gas as what he possibly can. The next guy up the street, you see a lot of blue smoke coming out of his chimney, and the whole top of his chimney is all black and brown around, the top, 8 or 10 inches or whatever of the chimney. That blue smoke indicates that guy there is burning unseasoned or essentially green wood, and he doesn't have enough combustion air to get the fire hot enough to dissipate or to create enough heat to get those gases into a secondary burn. So he's got a lot of creosote potential in that flue. His flue temperature is not elevated enough. He's not getting rid of all the combustible gases, and it's actually condensing on the inner walls of his chimney, and that's going to give him somewhat of a problem. Okay, now, You think about the different kinds of chimneys. If you've got a masonry chimney, you think, oh boy, I'm good to go, I'm great. But there's a lot of old masonry chimneys in old homes, if you've just bought one out in the country, that do not have a clay liner. It's just nothing more than brick and mortar. That's not really good. You need to ensure that you get a good stainless steel liner installed in that, before you start burning too awful much, because you're going to create an issue. And even if you have the clay tile liner inside, you can still have somewhat of an issue, okay, because the clay tile doesn't really have a joint. It's a flat surface mating against a flat surface, and it's connected with that 1/2 inch or whatever of mortar that they actually set the clay tile on top of, score shot, just like it does whenever you're doing a brick, and that's the actual mortar seal. Well, over a period of time and extreme temperatures, that your flues are subjected to, that mortar can give way a little bit. You can even knock some of the mortar loose whenever you brush it down. If you brush it with a handle and an extension handle and a brush, you can knock some of those out. You can actually create voids in that actual mortar joint to where the outside area between the clay tile and the brick and mortar of the actual brick chimney will fill with those gases in one particular circumstance. Normally, that won't happen. If you have burned good clean wood, burn a good hot fire, there's always going to be a negative pressure inside that chimney drawing upward and outward. Okay, but if you burn incomplete combustion and get a buildup of creosote and actually get a situation where you set your flue on fire, what happens is it suffers for combustion air. So it'll grab a bunch of combustion air and it'll kind of ignite, and you'll hear a woof. And then it kind of snuffs itself out because it's consumed all of the oxygen that was available. It draws a little bit more oxygen in, and then so it'll all of a sudden explode again, woof. And so it just continues to go woof, woof, woof like this. And what that's doing is it's actually shaking and is combusting and trying to expand the inner surfaces of your clay tile liner. Well, whenever it's also expanding, it changes that negative pressure that's normally going up the chimney into an outward pressure. Okay, so if you have cracks and crevices or a missing part of mortar between your clay tiles, what that does is that's shooting a little bit of that unburned gas into that cavity in between the clay tile and the brick and mortar. Then what could happen eventually, and this is why many times whenever you go by a house fire that happened the night before, maybe a week before or so, you'll see a chimney, a big old brick chimney laying down across the yard. What happened is during that flue fire, enough combustible, unburnt gases blew out into that cavity, and then ultimately, as the fire got so intense, ultimately ignited, and literally that entire area exploded and blew the chimney off the end of the house. Now that's exactly what happens whenever you see those situations, and there's not a season goes by that you won't find one of them out here rurally where I'm at, within 20 miles of my house. There's going to be one of them every single year. But it's because people are not burning the right kind of wood, they're not burning the right seasoned kind of wood, and they're not burning it properly to ensure that you don't have that situation occur. Okay, that's a big, long, drawn-out story. I hope you stayed there for that. And I have no credentials. I have none of those fancy letters behind my name or anything like that. I don't have any kind of engineering or that kind of stuff. But just by mere experience, I know what to expect about the flue and flue fires and the burning experience, if that's the way you want to refer to it as. Okay, one of the important things in preparing for winter is checking or cleaning your chimney. Now I'm going to tell you something here with this one here. I burn this one so hot and burn it so completely, and even at good complete combustion, it's tremendously inefficient as far as a heating source is concerned without a catalytic converter or anything like that in the flue. Just a standard atmospheric burner with no combustion air blower, no catalyst, no catalytic converter. I burn it very, very hot. I attain a secondary burn, and very, very seldom do you ever see any kind of a smoke or anything coming out of my chimney. It's always just pure, clear heat waves that you see. The only time you'll see smoke will be a little gray smoke initially whenever I light off the kindling and start the fire in the morning. For maybe 15-20 minutes, you'll see a gray smoke until I get the temperature up, inside the firebox, and the releasing gases from the dried, severely dried or extremely dried wood that that we fire with attain that complete secondary combustion, and there's no byproduct going up the chimney. So, but that having been said, I'm going to tell you something here that you're just not going to believe. Now, I lay down in here and pull out some fire bricks to where I can actually look up the chimney, and then I determine when it's time to clean it or whatever. I just did that the other day. That's why the inside of this is fairly clean. I looked up there and I've got a little accumulation around the outside edge. It's a gray powdery accumulation with a little bit of stuff stuck to the walls. But I have not cleaned this chimney, have not run a brush down this chimney. I cannot remember exactly when, but it's been 5 to maybe 7 years, even though I do check it every year just to see how clear it is. So we're going to go ahead and do that today. But before we do that, I'm going to go ahead and take my fire brick out, except for the couple that's in the middle that I have to take out to inspect, so I kind of get those clean a little bit. But I'm going to show you how much accumulation and what type of accumulation it is after 5 or 6 years of continuous burning with no cleaning whatsoever. And then we're going to go ahead and brush the chimney, and then we'll be able to see what what the end result is of brushing it after that accumulation. So I'm going to reach up in here and I'm going to pull out some of these fire brick. Well, when I say fire brick, what this is here, there's 2 ledges inside here. Well, actually there's multiple ledges inside here. And fire bricks, even though this is fire brick lined around the perimeter and the base, okay, there's also a series of fire bricks that are like this and like this, so that whenever the gases are being consumed, whenever it's actually burning, to slow down the rapid pace at which those combustion byproducts would be going up the chimney, those fire bricks are like this to create a serpentine motion that those flue gases have to go through to slow them down, to allow more heat to be rejected to the air passing across the outside of the heat exchanger of the fireplace. So what I'm going to do, and these here over a period of time of you're going to see how much stuff is going to be accumulated on top of those fire bricks that actually fall back down out of the chimney during the cooling down times. There's going to be some particulate that falls back out, and I'm sure with heavy winds and stuff, whenever we don't have a fire in it, I'm sure there's some gusts and stuff, that maybe dislodge or blow a little bit of debris down. But you're going to see what's going to be resting on top of those after all this time. If you can see that right there, this is an example right here. This one's not been touched in all those years. So there's 2 inches of pure powder right here. This is the combustion byproduct that I have. Whenever you see people that have creosote builds up in their chimney with all that black, nasty, baked on combustible material that's actually lining the inside of their chimney and flue, that proves that they're not attaining secondary burning of the combustion gases. This is proof right here of the temperature that actually this thing operates at. Here's another one here. You can see a little bit of a red rust. This is rust flakes from inside the actual chimney. And then here you can see the powder right here. So that's the same amount of time of accumulation. Now that's some of the lower bricks. I'm going to go ahead and get a couple of the upper bricks so we can actually get a comparison to that too. Here we go inside here. Now 1 bit of creosote. That's the upper layer of the serpentine setup. There's a little bit of clumping. That's because of some of the rain that actually comes down the chimney, because I don't have an adequate chimney cap on top of the chimney. So there is some rain that comes down, so it turns it into a little bit of a clump. But that's still nothing but gray powder. Again, here up closer. I hate making that mess in here on the hearth, but it's just actually to show a point. But you can see absolutely not even a suggestion or a hint of any unburnt gases at all. So now I got to go about the business of getting all the rest of the fire brick out up inside here, all the serpentine fire brick ledges, bring those out, and then we'll go back to business of cleaning everything out that's stuck inside here from the normal operation. This right here is the total accumulation of everything that you can see on top of those serpentine fire brick, and not one bit of creosote at all. And then what you see here on the floor of the stove, or the fireplace is from the damper all the way down and inside the fire chamber. So it'll be interesting to see what we get out of the chimney, but there ain't much up there to see. Remember, I told you I cleaned this area out prior to starting the video of just talking about it. I just wanted to show you what a non-catalytic atmospheric wood burning appliance, what the byproduct should be. It should not be anything but gray, just gray powder. If you got that, you're succeeding in burning your wood furnace or your wood-fired appliance correctly. Now, if you got a catalytic burner, that's somewhat of a different story. And if you have one with a combustion air blower, that's somewhat of a different story, because that actually changes the pressure conditions inside your chimney. And also the height of your chimney has a lot to do too with how much negative it actually generates or creates. Well, it's about 26 foot to the top of the peak and another 2.5 feet above it. I'm going to punch it from up top. Now you also got to bear in mind what kind of roofs you have. Now this is a standing seam metal roof and it is slick, so I got to be very, very careful. So it's going to be a little cumbersome, and also I don't want the flopping handle, the steel handle, to bang around and scratch the surface of the roofing material anyway, you know. So yeah, it'll take a little bit. I'll get up there and we'll just poke it down a few times and we'll be done.
This is the crazy old man up on the roof. He has climbed up from the less high part of the roof to this part of the roof. The fact that you're watching this now means that he did not fall and cause great bodily harm to himself. He is wearing boat shoes because they're less slippery and sprayed them with adhesive. Neither of those things make this safe to do. It's just a little less unsafe. This is the flue to our wood burning furnace. The other part of it was a wood burning fireplace that's in our big room, great room, the room with the fireplace. He told me he was going to wear a safety harness. He lies to me frequently to make me feel better. It doesn't help. It's about 50 something degrees today. We went from 80 to 50 in less than 3 days. That's Missouri. It's a little windy here today. He says the wind doesn't make any difference. I disagree. I'm out here with my cell phone, just in case. How much good that will do, I'm not sure. I'm out of the way. Okay.
This one's a lot tougher to punch because I had a larger round brush for a smaller square hole, so the bristles were fighting it. You saw me have to push it hard. I had to bend the bristles over.
Does it mean they do a better job if it's smaller? That's square, not round?
Yeah, this is a square clay tile.
Oh, it's clay tile. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Please get down off the roof. That will make me feel better. Quit leaning forward. That's causing me to have hyperventilation.
It is slick up here.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, right there, you can see a total accumulation of more than 5 years or 5 seasons of heating with no cleaning. Of course, that's 5 years of very good firing practices and attaining secondary combustion in the heat exchanger. And if you take a look, what this is here is mostly flakes of particulate. There's virtually no creosote in this at all. So there you have it. There's a Cliff Notes version of the theory that I subscribe to when it comes to burning wood in a fireplace or in a wood appliance. So take it for what it's worth. Like I said, no letters or anything like that behind my name, but I do have 60 years experience of firing these things. I hope it'll help somebody or lead somebody to understand a little bit more about what it is they're doing whenever they're heating their home or burning wood, you know, for a source of heat. It's not just as simple as throwing a match in the fireplace, you know, on a little bit of gas-soaked kindling or something like that. And people do that, there is no doubt. There's a lot more to it than just lighting a fire. You have to really think about what you're doing and where the wood come from and how the wood's prepared and how it's seasoned in order to be successful at having a safe operation. And you know what? This is Trackman 44, and I'm out of here now.